Hi guys, in this tutorial series I'm going to introduce some of the key concepts in Python, starting from the ones that I often use in my Django tutorials. I sometimes get questions regarding list comprehension, and this is why we are going to cover this topic first. We will begin with some simple examples, increasing the level of advancement over time. And as final step, we will do a project on translating digits of postal codes into words. For learning purposes, we will make an assumption that will force us not only to use list comprehension, but also dictionary comprehension. So by the end of this video, you should be fluent with this concept. And now, without further ado, let's get started. Alright guys, let's begin with a very basic example. We will generate the list of numbers from 0 to 10, and before we use list comprehension, let's do it in a classical way. So I'm going to create a numbers list, and initially it will be an empty list, and then below I'm going to create a for loop for number or for num in range 11. So this will give us numbers from 0 to 10. We want to append this number to the numbers list. So numbers list, append, and we want to pass in this number. All right, and below, let's print the numbers list. And I'm going to run this code. And there it is, all right? So here we have it, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. Okay. So all in all, it took us 3 lines of code to do this. So now let's use list comprehension. So I'm going to create numbers list. I'm just going to comment this out. And here we will have numbers list is equal to x for x. I'm going to explain this in just a second. In range 11. So we have expression for value in range 11. And this should give us the exact same result. So let's run this code, and there it is. Okay. So what I mean by expression, let's do another example. Maybe I'm going to create a list multiplied by 2. And here I'm going to do basically the same thing as I did over here, but I'm going to add an expression. So I'm going to write down x times 2 for x in range, all right? So let's do it and let's see the output. X times 2 for x in range 11. Okay, so let's see what do we have over here. I'm going to get rid of this print and I'm going to print below multiply by 2. And there it is. So right now we have 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, and 20. So x in range gives us the list of numbers from 0 to 10. And with this expression x times 2, we are multiplying those values and storing them in the multiply by 2 list. All right? So let's do another example. Maybe let's create a squared list. And here we will do another expression. We will square the values, but maybe not in range, but in this multiply by 2 list or in the numbers list, doesn't really matter. Okay, so x to the power of 2 for x in numbers list. All right, and let's print squared list. Let's run the code, and there we have it. So if we change this numbers list to multiply by 2, we will have some pretty big numbers. Let's run the code, and there it is. Okay, so these are very easy examples on list comprehension. You can use list comprehension also to change, for example, numbers to string. Let's do this. I'm going to write down str in the front, and right now instead of numbers we should have strings. So let's run this code. The integers should be right now strings. And as you can see, in fact, this is what we achieved over here. All right. So as the next step, let's take a look at list comprehension with, actually we did this list comprehension with expression. So I'm just going to put it over here, this comment. And now we are going to take a look at list comprehension with some conditions. So we are going to sort the games by game studio. I'm going to bring in this games list. And here we have 4 games: The Witcher, which is created by CD Projekt Red, GTA 5 by Rockstar, FIFA 21 by EA, and Cyberpunk 2077 by CD Projekt Red. So what we would like to do is to get the games created by CD Projekt Red, all right? So I'm just going to create a variable called CPR as CD Projekt Red, and then I'm going to add a list, and I'm going to use list comprehension to get only the names of the game. So I'm interested in the game, so game 4, and then game studio, okay, because here we have tuples, so this G refers to the game and this S refers to the studio, and we want to write this G for GS in games list, okay? We are referring to the games list. And then we will need to add a condition, an if condition. If S, which refers to the studio, is equal to CD Projekt Red. So I'm going to copy this and put it over here. All right, so as the final step, I'm going to print out CPR list. All right, and let's see what we will have over here. The Witcher and Cyberpunk, all right? If I would place GS, let's see what I will have. Okay, this has to be in a tuple like this. I would have The Witcher and CD Projekt Red. I can also change the order, so I can have the studio first and the game as the second. Let's run the code, and there it is. So CD Projekt and The Witcher. All right, so hopefully this is obvious. And we will do another example, this time on sorting into even, odd numbers and the other category. So I'm going to bring in this item list, and actually I'm going to comment those prints that I have so far. Okay. And let's take a look at this items list. So over here we have integers, we have strings, and we have also a list. All right, a list in a list. So what we want to do is to sort the items in this items list into even list, odd list, and other list. Okay, so let me actually do this in a classical way, and then we will do it one more time with the use of list comprehension. So we will have even numbers, and this is going to be again an empty list. Then we will have odd numbers, and let's say that we will have other. All right, so let's do a for loop for element in items list. What we need to do first is to do some checks if we are dealing with an integer and if we are dealing with even or odd numbers. So if is instance, and then we want to pass in the element, and we are checking if it's an integer. And then with the use of modulo operator, we can check if the element is an odd number or not. Okay, like this. And if this is the case, we want to add this element to the even numbers list. All right. Then let's do another case. So we will write elif is instance, and let's pass in L and also int, okay, because we still need to check if we are dealing with an integer. And then in this case, we want to check if L modulo 2 is not equal 0. So in this case, we will have a rest, okay? And then if this is the case, we are dealing with odd numbers. So odd numbers append, and we want to append the element. And finally, we can write down else. We can append the element to the other list if those two conditions weren't fulfilled before. All right, so other, append, and let's pass in the element. So below, what I'm going to do is to do some prints. First, I'm going to print the even numbers, then I'm going to print the odd numbers, and then I'm going to print the other category. I'm going to hit run, and there it is. So we have 2 and 10, and then we have 1, 5, 7, 9, and here we have strings in the other category as well as this list. So this is working, but this is the classical approach. What we are going to do is to change this part for the even numbers with the use of list comprehension, all right? So we will try to transform 4 lines of code, because we have 1, 2, 3, and then here we have 4, into one line, all right? So below, let's create an even list, or I'm just going to type even, and this is going to be x for x in items list. And then we need to write if to add a condition. And then I'm just going to grab this. All right, I'm going to copy this, and struggling with my mouse. And then I'm just going to change L into X. Okay. However, we can do it like this as well. You can put anything you want over here. You can put in Darth Vader for Darth Vader in items list, and then you just need to pass in Darth Vader here and here. It's just, you know, up to you. So yeah, let's do it with element. All right. And now I'm going to print even. So let's see what is going to be the output, all right? And we have 2 and 10, okay? So we achieved with one line of code exactly the same as we did with 4 lines of code. Pretty cool. Okay, so let's maybe do another example with if-else, because over here we have only one condition. We have only an if statement, all right? So let's create another list called modified numbers, and we are going to refer to the numbers list, all right? So if we take a look at the top, we have the numbers list over here, okay? So within this modified numbers list, we are going to perform an if-else. So let me just fix this, modified, okay? Now the spelling is correct. And what we want to do is to multiply by 2 if we are dealing with an even number. And if we are dealing with an odd number, we want to add 1, okay? So over here, the syntax will be a little bit different. We will begin with expression, so x times 2, and then we have to add if, and now we need to add a condition. So x modulo 2 is equal to 0, all right? And then we add an else. And in this case, we want to add 1 to x. And then we just write for x in numbers list. All right, so let's see what we will have over here. Print modified numbers. And let's run this, and there it is. So we have 0, 2, 4, 4, 8, 6, 12, 8, 16, 10, and 20. All right. So this is how we do an if-else inside a list comprehension. And now it's time to cover list comprehension with objects before we actually create our project. So what I'm going to do is to comment out those prints that we have so far. Okay, so now we can cover this list comprehension with objects. And in order to do this, I'm just going to create a very simple class. It's going to be a dog class. And below I'm going to put in a constructor. So this dunder init method, which will take self. And I also want to pass in the name of the dog and the age. So in order to create an instance of the dog, we will require to put in a name and the age. So over here, I'm just going to assign self name to name and self age to age that we have over here. All right. And now I'm going to create two objects. Dog1 is going to be dog, and I'm going to pass in my dog Goya, and she's 5 years old. And dog2 will be my other dog. Her name is Panda, and she's 1. All right. And now I'm going to create a dogs list. And here I'm going to put in dog1 and dog2. And right now what we want to do is to have the dog age list. So I'm just going to put in dog age list is equal to, and now we have to use list comprehension. So I'm just going to put in dog. We can also put X, doesn't really matter. But we have to access age. So X age for X in dogs list, all right? And this will give us the age of the two dogs that we have in the list. So let's try it out. Print dog age list. And there it is, 5 and 1, okay? So as mentioned before, this could be dog for dog in dogs list. And the result is the same. All right, guys. So as the next step, let's take care of this postal codes translator project. All right, guys, so I pasted a sample postal code and also the numstick. And over here, we will have a challenge because as you can see, the keys are words and on the value side, we have numbers. So we actually need to reverse this in order to translate numbers into words. And this is why I made this assumption like this, so we can use dictionary comprehension a little bit later on. But the other challenge that we will face at the very beginning is to create a list of elements based on the postal code, okay? So here we have a number and we can't loop through not strings, but integers. We can loop through strings. So we can actually translate this into a string. So we could do for s in str postal code, and we can print s or type s, okay? And then maybe let's add a s to see what's going on. And as you can see, we have strings right now, okay? So we can actually create a list of those elements as a string. And we can do it with the use of list comprehension. So I'm just going to delete this and write down postal code elements. And this is going to be equal x for x in str, and then I'm just going to pass in the postal code. And then I'm going to print the postal code elements, all right? And there it is. So we have 45960. Perfect. So as the next step, what I'm going to do is to do another print and let's take a look at this numsdict items. This is going to be quite important because in a second we will use this numsdict items with the dictionary comprehension. We are going to reverse the keys with the values. So for now, let's just print and see what do we have over here. And we have dict items where we have basically tuples with the keys and the values. Okay, so this is looking quite similar to our example with the games list. All right, so knowing this, we can actually perform this dictionary comprehension. So I'm just going to write down a variable reverse numsdict, and this is going to be equal, and then we will have value key for key value in items, not items, numsdict items. Okay, so what we are doing here is we are reversing the order. So here is our expression for key and value. So key is referring, for example, to 1 over here, and the value is referring to 1 over here. And over here at the beginning, we are reversing the order. So we will have now value key for key and value in numsdict items. All right, so let's confirm this. Let's print reverse numsdict, and let's see what do we have over here. And as you can see, we have it switched. So we have 0, 0, 1, 1, 2, 2, and so on. Okay, so this is a dictionary with which we can do something. So just to compare these two, I'm going to delete items, and I'm going to run the code one more time, and now we can see very clearly that we have this reversed. So in numsdict, we have 0 as the key and 0 as a number as the value, and right now in the reverse numbers dict, we have 0 number as the key and 0 string as the value. And this is exactly what we wanted to achieve, right? So we can actually continue with our project, and let's actually create this translation of the postal code without list comprehension first. So I'm going to put in my postal code, and this is going to be an empty list, and below we are going to translate those postal code elements that we have over here into words, okay, with the use of not the numsdict but the reverse numsdict. All right, so what I'm going to do is to create a for loop for num in postal code elements, and over here I'm just going to put in my postal code and append, and then with the use of the reverse numsdict, I'm going to pass as a key the num, but this is a string. Okay, we know that this is a string, so we need to transform this into an integer. All right, so below, let's print out my postal code, code, and let's see what do we have over here. And there it is, 45960. Okay, so this is still a list, so let's present it as a string. So I'm going to put in postal code string, and this is going to be equal. We are going to join like this, and we need to pass in postal code, my postal code. Okay, let's try it out. And of course we need to print postcode string. Print postcode string. And there it is, 45960. All right, so this is with the use of a traditional approach. So let's do it this time with the use of list comprehension. All right, so I'm going to get rid of this. And then here I'm going to write down my postal code again. and this is going to be, now we need to write at the very beginning reverse nums dict and pass in int, and we want to translate x as an integer, and then we can write for x in postal code elements. This is how we will achieve the same result. So we are accessing the dictionary, the reverse nums dictionary. We are passing as the key our element from over here, but translated into integer, because over here we see that we have strings. All right, so we are transforming it into an integer, and this is our expression for value in postal code elements, and this should give us the same result. And in fact it did. All right, so as the final step, let's actually get rid of those prints. I'm just going to comment them out, and we are going to create a function so we can actually input our postal code, and we will then translate it. Okay, so let me just comment this out. All right, so what I'm going to do is to create a function translate num or postal num to str, something like this, and I'm going to pass postal str. Okay, so the first thing is to maybe create a variable postal code, and this is going to be our postal code elements, and this is going to be x for x in str and postal str that we are passing. So basically here we are recreating this part. Okay, so having this, we can create postal code translated, and this is going to be, we are going to recreate this line of code over here. So reverse nums dict, and then we are going to pass in int x for x in postal code elements. All right, and here I just have to, I forgot about the square bracket. So we have reverse num dict, where we are passing as the key int x for x in this postal code elements over here. All right, and then we have to have the string, because this will give us a list. So let's put in PCS as postal code string, and this is going to be join. So we are going to take the list and put it in a string with those separators. And here we just need to pass in PCT. All right, and finally we need to return PCS. Okay, so basically this is the function, and now let's put in pnum, and this is going to be our input. So let's put input, and here let's just write enter your postal code. Okay, we won't do any exceptions, so we will keep this simple. And as the next step, we are going to simply print the translate postal num to string, where we will pass in this pnum. So here it should be print, and yeah, this should work. Let's see if it will. I'm going to run the code. Enter your postal code. I'm going to put in maybe 1 2 3 4 5. Enter, and there it is, 1 2 3 4 5. Okay, let's do another example. Maybe let me just fix this really quickly. Okay, now those underlines are gone, and let's do another example. So I'm going to run this script one more time. This time I'm going to put in 10954, and we have 10954. So this is working. I hope you guys enjoyed this tutorial. We will see each other hopefully in the next one. Take care, have a great day, and bye-bye.